The maid was ignored during the blackout. Then she touched a cable and the entire factory came back to life. Elena Mendoza's palms were slick with sweat as she gripped the exposed copper wire, the factory floor around her cloaked in darkness. Nobody had bothered to consult the cleaning lady when the power failed 90 minutes ago, leaving 300 workers idle and $1 million order hanging in the balance. The executives huddled in their crisis meeting upstairs hadn't even noticed Elena slip away from her mop and bucket. 20 years of night classes in electrical engineering while raising 3 children alone had taught her patience. The satisfying hum of machinery springing back to life filled the cavernous space as light flooded the factory floor. Elena quickly stepped back into the shadows, wiping her hands on her grey uniform. What just happened? Did the backup generator finally kick in? The floor manager shouted, emerging from the stairwell with the plant director close behind. I don't think so, sir. Something else just happened, replied Thomas, the lead technician who had spent the last hour frantically calling the power company without results. Elena silently returned to her mop, invisible once again. The production line lurched forward as workers scrambled back to their stations. She could hear the plant director's voice rising above the mechanical symphony. I don't care how it happened. Just keep everything running until we complete the Westmark order. We've already lost critical time. Elena noticed Miguel, the young maintenance apprentice, staring curiously at the electrical panel she had just left. Their eyes met briefly. She placed a finger to her lips, and he gave an almost imperceptible nod before turning away. Her secret would be safe for now. As she pushed her mop across the concrete floor, Elena calculated that her action had just saved the company approximately $240,000 in potential contract penalties. Not that anyone would ever know. She was just the cleaning lady after all. The morning after the blackout, Elena arrived at the Meridian manufacturing plant earlier than usual. She hadn't slept well, replaying the previous night's events in her mind. The solution had been so simple, a tripped circuit breaker with a faulty reset mechanism that required manual bypassing. Any first-year electrical engineering student would have spotted it immediately, but no one had thought to ask the woman who mopped the floors if she had any ideas. Elena stored her purse in her locker and changed into her uniform, listening to the excited chatter around her. They're saying it was some kind of miracle, said Louisa from the cafeteria staff. The plant director is telling everyone that divine intervention saved the Westmark contract. Divine intervention, my ass, muttered Carlos, the security guard. Someone knew what they were doing, but management will never admit they needed help from the floor staff. Elena kept her eyes down, focusing on gathering her cleaning supplies. She'd learned long ago that invisibility had its advantages. Nobody questioned the middle-aged cleaning woman moving silently through the building, overhearing conversations not meant for her ears. As she pushed her cart toward the production floor, she noticed Miguel leaning against the wall near the break room, waiting for her. I know what you did, he said quietly when she approached. That was some seriously advanced electrical work. Where did you learn that? Elena glanced around to ensure they were alone. Night classes at the community college for almost 20 years, she replied. I have a degree in electrical engineering, but no one will hire a 53-year-old woman with no professional experience. Miguel's eyes widened. You should tell them, after what you did, and what would happen then? Elena interrupted. A pat on the back, a $20 gift card, then back to being invisible. No, thank you. But the factory is running. People keep their jobs. My children still eat. That's enough, she said firmly, pushing her cart past him. As she turned the corner, Elena nearly collided with Sarah Johnson, the Human Resources Director, who was deeply focused on her tablet. Oh, I'm sorry, Elena mumbled, stepping aside. Sarah barely glanced up. "No problem," she replied absently before continuing down the hallway, never registering Eleanor's face. Elena continued toward the production floor, where the machines hummed efficiently. No one would ever connect the solution to the cleaning lady who had been working there for 15 years. She was fine with that. At 53, with 3 children who depended on her remittances back to Mexico, she couldn't risk losing this job over pride. 3 days after the blackout incident, Elena was cleaning the conference room when the plant director, James Richardson, entered with the company's CEO, who had flown in from headquarters. "We still have no idea how the system came back online," Richardson was saying. "The technicians insist it wasn't the backup generator, and the power company confirms the grid was down for another 2 hours. It's like someone just knew exactly which wire to touch." Elena kept her head down, methodically wiping the large oak table as if the conversation wasn't happening. "Well, whatever happened, it saved us from losing the Westmark contract," the CEO replied. "That's a $1.2 million order we couldn't afford to lose. The board is impressed with how you handled the crisis." Richardson beamed. "Thank you, sir. I've always believed in decisive leadership during critical moments." Elena suppressed a bitter smile as she collected her cleaning supplies and slipped toward the door. She had almost made it out when the CEO called out, "Excuse me, miss. Would you mind bringing us some coffee?" Elena turned, her face carefully blank. "Of course, sir. Right away." In the break room, Elena prepared the coffee with practiced efficiency. 20 years of night classes while working multiple jobs, sacrificing sleep and time with her children to earn a degree that now sat in a drawer in her tiny apartment. All so she could serve coffee to men who made in 1 hour what she earned in 2 weeks. As she arranged the cups on a tray, Miguel entered the break room. "I've been looking for you," he said, his voice urgent. "The electrical system is showing anomalies again. The technicians are baffled." Elena glanced at the coffee tray. "I have to deliver this first." "Elena, please. They're talking about shutting down production if they can't figure it out. That means no work for any of us." She hesitated, thinking of the rent due next week and her youngest daughter's college application fees. What exactly are they seeing? Voltage fluctuations in the main distribution panel. They've called in an outside specialist, but he won't be here until tomorrow. Elena delivered the coffee to the conference room, where Richardson and the CEO barely acknowledged her presence. Then she found Miguel waiting by the maintenance closet. "Show me the readings," she said quietly. Miguel pulled out his phone, displaying the electrical monitoring system data. Elena studied it for a moment, her experienced eyes immediately spotting the pattern. "It's a harmonic distortion issue," she said. "The new machines from the expansion are creating feedback in the older system. You need to install a filter at the connection point. Would you show me?" Miguel asked. Elena checked her watch. The afternoon supervisor wouldn't look for her for another 30 minutes. "Quickly," she agreed. They slipped down to the electrical room, where Elena skillfully diagnosed the problem and guided Miguel through the installation of a temporary harmonic filter using components from the maintenance inventory. "This will stabilize things until the specialist arrives," she explained, "but they need a permanent solution designed specifically for this system." "You could design it," Miguel said quietly. "You should be doing this job, not cleaning." Elena just shook her head as the system readings stabilized. "Go tell them you fixed it," she said. "This is your chance. But you did it, and I need this job more than I need recognition," she replied firmly. "Please, Miguel." Reluctantly, he nodded. Elena slipped back to her cleaning cart, invisible once more. A week after the blackout, Elena was summoned to the Human Resources office. Her heart raced as she sat in the stiff chair across from Sarah Johnson. Had someone reported her unauthorized access to the electrical systems? "Elena, I have some questions about your employment application," Sarah began, reviewing a file on her desk. "Is there a problem?" Elena asked, her voice steady despite her anxiety. "You could say that," Sarah replied, looking up. "Miguel Reyes has submitted a rather unusual maintenance report. He claims that you've been providing expert electrical engineering advice." Elena's mouth went dry. Despite her request for secrecy, Miguel had spoken up. "I may have made some suggestions," she admitted carefully. "I have some background knowledge." Background knowledge. Sarah raised an eyebrow and turned her computer monitor so Elena could see the screen. "We did some checking. You have a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from the community college. Graduated with honors 5 years ago." Elena remained silent, waiting for the inevitable termination for lying on her application. "Why didn't you include this on your employment forms?" Sarah asked. "The position was for cleaning staff," Elena replied simply. "I needed the job." Overqualification can be as much a barrier as underqualification. Sarah studied her for a long moment. "The system you temporarily fixed last week would have caused another shutdown." Miguel finally admitted that you were the one who diagnosed the harmonic distortion issue. The specialist we brought in was impressed with the solution. Elena shifted uncomfortably. "I should get back to my work." "Actually, that's why I called you here," Sarah said. "Your work is changing as of today." Elena's stomach dropped. This was it. They were letting her go for interfering with systems outside her job description. "We have an opening in the maintenance department for an electrical systems specialist," Sarah continued. "The position requires a degree in electrical engineering and pays $32 an hour to start. Miguel recommended you, and after confirming your credentials, so does our outside consultant." Elena stared in disbelief. "But I have no professional experience." "Saving $1 million contract during a blackout and preventing another shutdown counts as experience in my book," came a voice from the doorway. Eleanor turned to see James Richardson, the plant director, entering the office. "Mr. Richardson has authorized an immediate transfer," Sarah explained, "with retroactive pay adjustment for last week." "I don't understand," Elena said, her voice barely above a whisper. Richardson had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. "Miguel showed me the security footage from the night of the blackout. I've worked here for 12 years and never knew your name until today. That's unacceptable. We had the solution to our problem right under our noses, mopping our floors." Elena thought of her children, of the tiny apartment they shared, of the second job she worked on weekends to make ends meet. "When can I start?" she asked, her voice stronger now. "How about right now?" Richardson replied. "We're still having issues with the system integration from the expansion. And Elena, thank you for what you did during the blackout and for what you'll do from now on as part of the team." As Elena followed Richardson toward the maintenance department, she passed her abandoned cleaning cart in the hallway. For 15 years, that cart had been both her livelihood and her invisibility cloak. Now, for the first time, people nodded and smiled as she walked by, seeing her, really seeing her, at last. Miguel was waiting by the electrical room, grinning widely when he saw her. "I told you that you should be doing this job," he said. "You shouldn't have gone behind my back," Elena replied, but there was no anger in her voice. "Sometimes people need a little power surge to see what's right in front of them," he shrugged, "just like the factory that night." Eleanor smiled as she approached the electrical panel where 1 week earlier she had reached out from the shadows to save a factory that had never noticed her. Now, stepping into the light, she placed her hands on the controls with confidence, no longer invisible.